Greetings, ladies, gentlemen, and others. Jolly Scholar 888 here. Welcome to my newest series, Blockchain to Metaverse. Discussion number 1, Introduction to the Great Reversal, Strategies of Resistance, and the Inevitable Triumph of Techno-Anarchism. A bit of a bombastic title, I'll admit, but I hope to justify it. This series is brought to you by technoanarchist.com and aurorabrightbikes.com. I'd like to make a few opening statements in this introduction for those of you who might not have the time to watch this complete 25-minute presentation. I want to tell you right up front what is most important about these new technologies, regardless of how you might feel about them now. For thousands of years, humanity has followed a civilizational trend towards increased social differentiation, and at the same time, the development of steeper and steeper hierarchical structures driven by the intensification of concentrated wealth and power into the hands of fewer and fewer people. The culmination of this trend came with the Communist Revolution of 1917, wherein unprecedented concentrations of power into the smallest possible number of hands was manifested, without any of the benefits of the previous aristocratic and priestly hierarchies. Today's global socialism is human engineering and social control on a massive scale. But the American Revolution of 1776 began a reversal of that centuries-old trend towards greater concentrations of power. A new movement towards decentralization and the empowerment of the individual was ignited. I am arguing that the movement has now been accelerated through blockchain technologies, and these technologies cannot be controlled by the globalists, no matter how determined they are to control them. And they are determined. That's why I think this series should be especially valuable to you. It will put these technologies in a new light. You will not only learn about them, for those of you who might not know much about them at this time, but you will also see why these technologies are so important to our future as free, autonomous citizens living within communities of our own choosing. But how has gaming become important? It's very curious. All games are fundamentally strategies of survival and success, presented as pastimes. And it is interesting to point out that online gaming is what gave rise to the metaverse and metaverse communities. And now blockchain technology introduces a new powerful component to online gaming and online metaverses. I will argue that strategic self-organized blockchain gaming communities could operate as fronts of resistance to globalism. It sounds a little odd now, but I think you'll see what I mean. Blockchain grounds the metaverse in mathematics and science, creating values founded on decentralization, truth, and verification, wherein the individual has autonomy and agency. Furthermore, in a blockchain gaming metaverse, the citizen can have direct ownership of assets and they can have a direct access to governance. But perhaps even more importantly, metaverse blockchain gaming strategies have the potential to be mapped onto and integrated with real-world strategies of resistance. This is a provocative innovation that could have powerful real-world applications. I will continue to develop this concept throughout the discussion series. I will also argue that blockchain protocols are a direct affront to Marxist globalist collectivist ideology, which is based in language theory, wherein reality itself is a product of socially generated narratives, where truth and propaganda are interchangeable, wherein human consciousness itself is reduced to a nexus of intersecting narratives within a social matrix. The manufacturing of consent, as that imposter Noam Chomsky phrased it. For the globalist elites, all of humanity is their engineering project, the direct opposite of the goals of the great American experiment. And another point I will continue to argue is that blockchain technologies are accelerating the great American experiment and the civilizational reversal that was initiated by it. I am arguing that blockchain technologies are igniting techno-anarchism, and techno-anarchism will accelerate the great American experiment. Blockchain, gaming theory, and the metaverse offer an emergent nexus for perpetual resistance to the monopolization of power. But on a more immediately pragmatic note, I can assure you that while the subject of crypto NFTs and the metaverse is just now beginning to emerge onto the public consciousness, in the coming very few years, everyone will have to get to know these concepts well enough to navigate through the inevitable integration of Web 3.0 and the metaverse. So if you are not already familiar with these concepts and technologies, then this is the right time for you to get engaged. So let's continue with this introduction, blockchain to metaverse and the great reversal. The series will begin with Bitcoin, the grandfather of all blockchains and of all cryptocurrencies. How the Bitcoin blockchain works, why Bitcoin is valuable, what are its limitations, and the history behind it is something both historic and intriguing. Now, the Bitcoin blockchain is actually a digital ledger founded upon mathematical protocols and the physics required to manifest them. An economic ledger that is decentralized, verifiable, and transparent. And this way it is at once truthful while at the same time trustless. You need not trust the person you are dealing with, and there's no third-party involvement. The point to emphasize before we go into more details as to how blockchain operates is that the Bitcoin blockchain is a kind of bank, and Bitcoin is the currency it mints. So when you own Bitcoin, you own not only a piece of a currency that cannot be inflated, you also own part of the bank that mints it. Think about that. You own part of the economic system in which you are participating in. But perhaps the greatest achievement of Bitcoin is that it opened a massive door. And what blew through that door was an explosion of new blockchains, new cryptocurrencies, and new applications. These blockchains sought to expand what Bitcoin had begun, driving the world towards a new financial system, a decentralized financial system, or DeFi, that could make for a far more equitable distribution of wealth and power by making the capitalist entrepreneurial system far less vulnerable to monopolization and exploitation by a small number of large institutions controlled by a tiny minority of people. And again, we emphasize that through blockchain technologies, the people who are engaged in the economic system own part of it. Because if you own Bitcoin, you own part of the ledger. That is, you own a piece of the bank. You actually own part of the financial system. This is radically different from what we are experiencing now. The fiat currency system makes manipulation easy because fiat itself acts in many ways like a narrative. Its value lies in the manufactured narratives. In this way, fiat acts as a capitalist counterpart to global Marxist ideology. This is why all socialist states insist on fiat currency, and why the global socialists operating within the West institutionalized fiat currency in the first place. And so it is of no surprise that it was the leadership, or under the leadership of the Socialist Democratic Party, that the U.S. was taken off the gold standard. You can't print gold out of thin air like you can paper, like you can a meme, the manufacturing of consent. After covering blockchain, Bitcoin, and the altcoin explosion, we'll look into the NFT phenomena. But is it just a craze similar to the tulip craze of the 17th century, where tulip buds would sell for a fortune? Well, let's take the CryptoPunk number 7804 in the upper left. It's 1 out of 10,000 avatars. It's a collection. It now sells for 4,200 Ethereum. And Ethereum is one altcoin of the Ethereum blockchain. That's about $13,540,000, even at the current Ethereum crash price. Yes, for that pixelated stamp. Next to it is the Bored Apes Yacht Club, number 5837, 69.69 ETH. That's $223,383.11 for that monkey wearing a sailor's cap. Then we have a so-called artist named Beeple who sold a digital collage NFT for $69 million at a Christie's auction. It looks like a close-up of an acne problem. But these are historic moments that will be remembered 100 years from now. So in that sense, maybe the prices are somewhat justified. But what is an NFT? To start with, NFT stands for non-fungible token. It's basically a digital content, a data block in a way, that is verifiably unique and that can be bought and sold. Its authenticity is verified by blockchain technology. But an intriguing aspect of the NFT is that while it can be static like a JPEG avatar, it can also be dynamic, functional, a kind of self-contained smart contract. It is this functional aspect that makes the NFT so important. And as we move along through this series, it will become very apparent why. Here we have an indication that more reasonable prices for these NFT and avatar collections are starting to dominate. At the top right here, you have a member of the Crazy Lizard Army. It's going for about $383. That's a bit more reasonable. Had I been in the market, I like lizards. I like pirates. He's got glasses somewhat similar to mine. I would have bought that one had I been in the market. But below that, you have the Cyber Technician NFTs that will transform according to their program protocols. As we will see, NFTs can be bred or transformed for gaming collectability. An interesting concept that is proving to be very important in unanticipated ways, as we will see. The Lady with the Bird Cage for a Head is by Chad Knight, who also is one of the founders of a metaverse called Wilder World that I'm interested in. This is an example of some of the more impressive digital art coming out, and there is some really, really excellent work. But now that the novelty and historic phase of NFTs is coming to an end, their real potential to transform our daily exchanges in the world are starting to come to the forefront. In gaming, for example, there are now in-game NFT assets that players can earn and then own. Assets such as their own weapons, armor, vehicles, and even land. The players can then sell or rent these assets after they have created value in them through the game. You may be familiar with the concept of leveling up. In this way, the players can earn passive income once they've achieved a certain level of gaming success by renting out or selling their assets. Let's look briefly at where the NFT phenomena is going. Here is a music album NFT by a fellow named 3Lau. It generated 3.6 million in total sales. But here's what's interesting. Fans will receive royalties on future sales. Contracts move with functional NFTs, smart contracts. So as the album continues to sell, and even when people sell the album on a secondary market, those who have bought an album will receive royalties. The implications are enormous. People now own part of the project. They own part of the business when they buy the album. Next, we have Zero Contact, a film starring Anthony Hopkins, was the first film to be distributed through NFT smart contracts. The NFTs granted the buyers royalties and other benefits. Below that, you'll see that even real estate is being sold as NFT contracts. More impressive implications. We're mapping blockchain technology and metaverse concepts into the real world where they will actually function. What has made this possible is blockchain. NFTs are derivatives of blockchain technology. Just like when you own Bitcoin, you own a piece of the bank. When you own an NFT album, you own a piece of the entire music project. And this concept can be applied to any type of exchange. Now look at the trajectory of the NFT overall that we just witnessed. From overinflated collectibles, starting with the pixelated CryptoPunks and a silly collection of monkey avatars, to gaming, to the metaverse, and then to the music industry, the film industry, and now to actual real estate. And what was the pivotal move? Actually, it was gaming. When NFTs entered gaming as immutable functional smart contracts on the blockchain, that changed everything. This nexus of gaming strategies and NFTs embedded within the metaverse and outside of the metaverse, but still on the blockchain, is proving to be one of the big surprises of the 21st century. A pivotal feature of this nexus is ownership. Our forefathers of the Constitution understood how important private property was, how if you own nothing, you don't own yourself. You have no autonomy. NFTs combined with decentralized finance, or DeFi, could play a critical role in accelerating private ownership in the very economic processes that constitute the financial system. We, the people, holding real stake and ownership in the global financial network. As opposed to the very perverse agenda of the current globalists, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Yeah, right. You will own nothing because you will be nothing. The blockchain NFT phenomena is proving to be one of the surprise innovations of the Great Reversal. It is already proving to be very exciting and very revolutionary. After NFTs, we'll be exploring virtual reality, augmented reality, gaming, and the emergent metaverse. Here is a review done by Forbes Online of a virtual concert held on, and as of yet, non-blockchain online gaming metaverse called Fortnite. Fortnite is extremely popular and well known in the gaming community. We will discuss the controversy in the gaming space around to block or not to block in my section on blockchain gaming. But for right now, it's enough to point out that while blockchain gaming is still in its infancy, virtual reality is progressing rapidly and has been around for some time. And it was online gaming that first brought virtual reality to public adoption.
First of its kind within the metaverse. Metaverse, the word that's been popping up everywhere recently, is a virtual community. And within that community, people can play games, work, or in this case, attend a concert. Fortnite's concert was a huge success. Nearly 11 million people live streamed the event, and today that number is north of 60 million on YouTube. And that was just the beginning. A little over a year later, it was announced that rapper Travis Scott would venture into the virtual concert space, and just like Marshmallows, it was a massive success. Travis Scott's show proved how profitable these virtual concerts could be. And just like real-life concerts, there's merchandise to be sold. Lots of it. In addition to the physical merch, players can also purchase skins and emotes, which are dance moves and other actions your character can perform within the game. And all that can add up. Scott reportedly grossed $20 million from his Fortnite collaboration, including merchandise sales. That's a huge number considering his entire Astro World tour from the year before. Grossed $53.5 million.
This chart shows that I'm not exaggerating when I claim that gaming has already had an enormous impact on the global public. Take a look at it. Look at music, film, and television, and then look at gaming. I don't know about most of you, but unless you were involved in gaming, you probably had no idea, as I didn't, that gaming was anywhere near this large. I mean, it dwarfs the music industry. It dwarfs the film industry. Now, this is, I believe it's the entire Commonwealth, not just England, but regardless, it's proportionally the same all over the world. Gaming dwarfs the other industries. That's really quite a surprise. But the real impact of gaming will become more evident as it stealthily, under the radar, begins to contribute to the reshaping of the structures and strategies of power, as it already has in developing countries like the Philippines. The story of this game, Axie Infinity, could warrant a discussion of its own. But for now, it's worth mentioning that playing this game has become a source of life-changing revenue for many people in the Philippines, and even spawned asset lending guilds that allow people to borrow NFTs called Axies for playing and breeding. Yes, breeding. But more on that subject in upcoming discussion videos. Again, we cannot discuss the metaverse without talking about online gaming. People going inside of the games, total immersion is what gave rise to the metaverse. The new blockchain games have been met with a level of resistance by the online gaming community. Some of the online gaming producers are skeptical of the benefits of in-game NFTs and of blockchain technology in general. But another reason is that the blockchain games have so far been of a much lower quality. The first video you're going to see is a trailer for a well-known online space adventure called Eve. As you'll see, the quality is impressive.
Eve to me is basically freedom. It's a giant open universe where you can do whatever you want. You can have really relaxed, slow-paced stuff where you can take it easy. Or you could be on the edge of your seat, shaking, making split-second decisions.
Now, the second trailer is for a new blockchain game called Star Atlas. It launched its promotional campaign this past summer with a very unique NFT sale. The NFT collection consisted of 3D images that included electronic dance music from some very well-known artists. It was very well done. It was a great promotion. And I think you're going to be very impressed by the quality of this video.
The station reported a distress signal last night. I think it came from your dad's ship.
A signal? It came from past the outer ring. How is that even possible?
His ship has been reported missing for 20 years now.
But what is equally impressive about Star Atlas is its grand scale strategy components. Besides the usual combat and exploration motifs, the game includes a complex logistical ecosystem that requires players to plan ahead and monetize their maneuvers, buying fuel for their spaceships, for instance, or selling fuel by owning a fuel station. The game also features political and economic strategies that the players play against and with one another, making alliances, negotiations, and treaties that could involve trading, trade routes, planet colonization, territorial disputes, attacks, etc. And this is where I see, as I pointed out earlier, the real potential for gaming to develop and enact strategies of resistance that can be applied to the physical world. It's very provocative. This trailer is promoting a metaverse called Blocktopia. Blocktopia is a large 21-story mall that includes stores, event sites, office space, apartments, and many other features. It's a mall within a virtual city. Notice the billboards and storefront signs. You may recognize some of the celebrities and companies.
Welcome to Blocktopia.
By the way, the Lamborghini being raffled is a real one. You win it in the metaverse, but you'll drive it in the physical world. It's important to point out that Blocktopia is a blockchain metaverse. The blockchain has its own currency called Block, and it's listed on the cryptocurrency exchanges. So in Blocktopia, you buy and sell things using the Block currency. The currency is what pays for Blocktopia's maintenance. Investors invest in Blocktopia by buying the Block tokens, or Block currency. As I pointed out, there are stores and event venues that are already occupied by well-known companies and celebrities. The commercial spaces can be owned by buying the space or renting space, both as an NFT. In fact, you can own space within a metaverse and then create a game within that space that you could then advertise and charge people to play. Well, they would come in as an avatar, right? It's pretty interesting. You'll be able to walk around in Blocktopia and other metaverses just as you would in a physical mall, except you'll be represented as an avatar. Your avatar comes as an NFT so that you actually own it. Your avatar is not just something you animate within a specific environment. You actually own it. You can even use your avatar to enter into other metaverses, at least in theory. Cross-chain interoperability is relatively new, but it's progressing rapidly. So you can design and buy clothes for your avatars. Yes, there's already a fashion industry out there. Avatar fashion is a thing. You can visit social spaces, meet people, as well as attend virtual concerts or have a virtual business meeting. You can even invite friends to your own virtual apartment. How that all works we'll explore further in the discussion on the metaverse. The intersection between the coming internet Web 3.0, the emergent metaverse, blockchain NFTs, and what I would call gaming theory is what the very near economic and social future holds. What you were watching earlier is closer to how you will interact within the new internet. You will go inside it. That's Web 3.0. But that's what gamers have been doing for years. And you will need to navigate Web 3.0 just as you navigate the internet and your smartphone today. Just consider all the things you know how to do in order to make all your day-to-day transactions possible. From buying online, using GPS, ordering food, tickets, doing research, streaming movies, joining in live streams, meeting people online. All the many activities that depend on the present technologies. And we can all do those things because we've learned how to do them over time. It's now second nature. You will be transferring and expanding that knowledge into the metaverse and Web 3.0. So we'll all have a lot to learn. And it should be a fascinating adventure, I think. And now, before we leave this little introductory metaverse section, there is also an inversion aspect to what you have just witnessed. It's also called augmented reality or blended reality. Not only will you be going into the metaverse to carry out transactions that can have results in the physical world, but you will also be able to walk around the physical world and enact transactions that will have results in the metaverse, or simply overlap the two in real time. The metaverse can be mapped, in a sense, onto the physical world. To fully comprehend that will take some exploration, and we'll be covering both aspects of the metaverse, walking into the metaverse and creating changes in the physical world, and the inversion, walking through the physical world and creating changes in the metaverse, or using the metaverse to further inform or enhance the physical world as you walk through it in real time. Here's a fictional example that dramatizes what I mean by metaverse inversion or blended metaverse. It's taken from a Korean series that I really liked called Memories of the Alhambra. Now, as an aside, in another century, my undergraduate degree was in classical guitar. And the song Memories of the Alhambra, or the piece, is one of the most famous classical guitar pieces in the world. Also, Granada is where I did a lot of my field work for my dissertation. I love that city. It's my favorite city, probably my favorite city in the world. So it was a lot of fun for me to watch this series and be very familiar with all the places and sites that I saw. Anyway, so notice the frames in this trailer where the fellow puts on the eye lenses. He can go to public spaces in the physical world, but only those specific places that have been mapped by the game to interact with metaverse in very specific ways. In this case, the player had to leave Korea and go all the way to Granada, Spain, and then to a corner in a specific restroom in a specific cafe. And there he could receive a sword to go out and fight with a statue that had been mapped onto a very specific statue outside the same cafe where that bathroom was located. Fighting the statue gives him the opportunity to level up in the metaverse game. But he had to go to the physical location in order to do that. Physical people, of course, walking by could watch the spectacle of a seeming lunatic fighting the air, swinging a non-existent sword in the middle of a plaza. Probably would remind them of Don Quixote. There are also scenes where a person buys something in a specific physical store for the purpose of earning points in the metaverse. So there was an arrangement between the game and the real store. I'll be using this particular Korean drama for a number of reasons in my discussion on the metaverse. But this brief footage should give you a good idea of what I mean by metaverse inversion.
그러나 나는 다른 걸 보러 여기에 왔다. 바람보라보다 더 싱그러운 거. 봤어요? 대박인데요, 이거?
So now it's time to re-emphasize what we on the techno-anarchist front find so fascinating and important about the entire blockchain and metaverse phenomenon. Blockchain, DeFi, finance, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and gaming technologies. They are creating a nexus wherein the thousands of years of human civilization that have trended towards increasing concentrations of power and increasing hierarchical rigidity, a trend that culminated in the 1917 Communist Revolution, are now in the midst of a civilizational reversal. The reversal started with the American Revolution of 1776 and is now being accelerated within this blockchain-driven nexus of technologies. This is the beginning of techno-anarchism, technology enabling the reversal of the ancient civilizational trend towards steeper degrees of hierarchical organization and more intense concentrations of power, towards social decentralization and an emphasis on individual autonomy and individual empowerment. That again began with the American Revolution, the great American experiment. So blockchain technologies are igniting techno-anarchism, and techno-anarchism is accelerating the great reversal that began with the great American experiment. This is a fascinating, unexpected turn of events, and exploring it is going to be equally fascinating. So I hope you'll join me. Stay tuned for discussion number 2, blockchain and blockchain mechanics, where we will do a brief exploration into the fundamentals of blockchain technology. Explore how it works. And by the way, did I mention hashtag defund the universities? Hashtag defund NPR? Hashtag defund PBS?